So the newest in the Epic family from Warlord Games is going to be Revolution. Basically the American War of Independence. The British and their Hessian allies against the dogged Americans fighting for freedom and honour and coffee. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, the latest version of Epic is going to be American War of Independence, and I'm a bit surprised by it, I have to say. It wasn't the one I was expecting next, and somewhat surprised that American War of Independence was the one they've decided to pick for, because there were some reasonable sized battles in this war, but there weren't that many. So a massed combat game featuring Epic that uses the Black Powder engine, I was a bit surprised about. But, you know, new toys is new toys, right? So Warlord sent me some sprues, so I'll show you what they look like in a minute. But I thought it was interesting to have a look at the starting bundle. So this is the all-in, the Revolution box, which gives you enough figures to fight with both sides. So you've got the American Continentals down here, and some cavalry and some of their sharpshooters, some militia by the look of it down here, a couple of well, a battery of cannons and a few cavalry, and up here you've got the loyalists along here, some British cavalry, various British light infantry, Rogers Rangers or something I think they're called. You've got British infantry, British grenadiers and Hessian troops. So the box set here costs you £160. You get a lot of figures. You can see them all here and I won't go through it. You can look it up yourself. There's plenty of people just showing the website. So there's also a number of other options that you can get along here. So you can see all the other versions you can get. So the so that isn't the all-in bundle. Apologies, that one is just an Epic box. So the all-in is this one, £260. Wow, that's a lot of plastic. So in there you've got even more regiments of infantry, a few more cavalry, not so much. Basically, it's a much bigger box set. Gives you enough to a British Army Brigade, a Hessian Allied Brigade, and the Continental Army Brigade. Interesting. So that is £260 at the moment if you pre-order. No idea when these are going to go out. Oh, it does say release June 25, so there you go. Here's some of the other options. You've got if you just want to go American, you've got the Continental Army Bundle for £97 at the moment, or the Loyalist one for the same price, £97. There's also the rulebook on its own, which is £22. And then a British Brigade for 31, you've got Continental Brigade for 31 and a Hessian Brigade for 31, and some rather nice officers. There we go. You can get all the commanders you might need for £15. So these will be in Warlord resin. Very good indeed. So Revolution joins the Epic lineup from Warlord Games, and it's very interesting that that's the next one in the bundle. So the first one we saw was the American Civil War, and I think that caused a bit of surprise for a lot of people that Warlord were going down the route of almost its own range, 13.5mm, basically very traditional small scale 15mm. Not like the new stuff. And also obviously the concept of Epic is shoulder to shoulder troops, large battles, shoulder to shoulder troops. Then we've had Waterloo, which obviously has the British, the Prussians, the French, various of the German supporters for the British, and then we've also had Pike and Shot, which is a slight of an oddity. The others have all focused, the Americans have all focused on Gettysburg, Waterloo clearly focused on Waterloo. Pike and Shot has covered a period. So you've got the 30-year war in there, you've got the English Civil War, you've also got the various conflicts in Scotland and Ireland that are all supported within that box. And then, of course, the newest newest before Revolution was Hail Caesar: The Punic Wars, which was released not the absolute last year. I think we saw had the first look at what Hail Caesar would look like. So it's interesting to me. They've got one game or one epic box using the Hail Caesar engine, one using the Pike and Shot engine, and 3 using Black Powder. Now, I didn't expect Revolution to be the next one on the starting blocks, but it does tend to suggest that they plan to replace, or they plan to bring out epic options for pretty much everything, right the way through. It'd be interesting to know how far down the line they'll go, whether they'll go into other periods, how modern they would go. I can't see them doing a Second World War one, but possibly a First World War. Certainly a Franco-Prussian might be possible, because again they're all shoulder to shoulder, and that seems to be the concept around epic primarily. I know lots of people were hoping for an expansion to the Waterloo to include some of the earlier periods, Leipzig or Austerlitz or so forth, to get Germans in there, to get the Russians in there, Austrians in there, etc. But so far that hasn't happened, but I wouldn't mind betting there'll be an Austerlitz or a Leipzig or Borodino sets that comes along at some point soon. I don't know, I'm not in the know. Let me know in the comments down below what you'd like to see for Epic next. Are you into the Hail Caesar engine? In which case there's all sorts of possibilities. Personally, I was expecting a 100 Years War version for that. I really thought that would be the next one out the stable. Personally, I'd love to see something featuring Alexander's battles, classic battles. That would be fantastic. Pikemen and elephants and scythe chariots and all sorts of goodness would be brilliant. So Revolution caught me out. So anyway, I thought let's have a look at the different sprues. Now, I don't have all the sprues. I only have a little bit left in the American Civil War because I didn't buy any of those. But I thought let's have a little look at how the sculpting has changed, how they've developed, and how they've improved over this range. And let's speculate a bit more about what might be next. Okay, so as I said before, Warlord's very kindly sent me some sprues for the new Epic Revolution sets. Now, I'm not going to go into huge amount of detail because, frankly, if you're interested, you'll look at all the pictures on the website. But a couple of things that caught my eye. Well, first of all, there's a bit of a change with their approach with these. So what they've done is produced some standard sprues. So this one, which is called Army 1.1, can be used for either side. What's more, they claim, and people know more about this than I will ever do, that the uniforms were virtually the same between the British and the Continental troops, and also it's not that difficult to turn these into militia troops just by giving them a different paint job and making them look more ragtag. Now, I'm not going to claim I know enough about that to be certain, but there's certainly on these sprues here, on these strips here, these guys haven't got any bayonets, so I'd be tempted to, if I was turning anything into militia, I'd do it with these. Plus there's a couple of guys here with soft caps on, rather than just the bicorn and tricorn hats that the others have. Here's the ones that probably look more like regulars to me. Now, again, what's interesting, because these are flexible sprues that could be used for any side, you notice there's a gap here, and you've got an extra individual figure here. So again, as I understand it, the British forces in the American War of Independence used 2 standards. So if you're making this a British sprue, you put the standard in there, and you'd have an extra musket arm man, which you could use on command stands, for instance. which is kind of nice. If you're going the other way around, you know what I mean. So if you're using these Americans, you could put that guy in there and use the standard bearer guy. Also on the sprue, worth noting, is some heads. Now, it's not some kind of Gallic ritual here. These are Grecian helmet options for British artillery. They tended to wear helmets rather than bicorns. So if you want to simulate that, you just chop off the heads of these fellas and stick the helmets on. So that's that sprue. So they sent me 2 of those sprues. We've also got here, now this one is stamped as being Epic Battles AWI Continental Army. So this looks like more bespoke for your Continentals. You've got the Minutemen here, long rifle armed, very effective, caused mayhem to the British when they tried to attack in formation against these fellas hiding in woods and in trees and whatnot. Nice strips here. You've got the drummer boy, that'll keep Steve happy, and the cavalry figures. Now, I'm not sure whether they're cavalry or whether they're officers. I suspect these are cavalry. That guy there definitely looks like a cavalry figure, as does this one here. This one could go either way, so to speak. So they give me 2 sprues of those. So next one they sent me was the British, well, it says British sprue, but that is actually Hessians. So you've got Hessian troops, line troops here with their command stands. They look very similar to the other ones. I mean, this is very small scale, so everything looks pretty much the same. And then you've got guys, grenadier types, I think they are, wearing the mitre hats, caps. Again, gaps in the lines, gaps in the lines. If you want to adapt them and use some of these individual figures here, which is kind of nice. These guys seem to have the bearskin caps on, which, as I understand, were grenadiers. So, yeah, interesting. You've got a British Light Dragoon figure here. They wore that sort of, is it Tarleton helmet, which I believe later on was phased out, and actually even in the Napoleonic period, actually they used those helmets in the early period and then phased them out for Shakos. You've got some light infantry here. Now they could be is it Rogers Rangers I think they were, which were on the British side, sort of a rifle-armed skirmish group, although these guys look like they've got more like shotguns than anything else. And then you've got some Native Americans who definitely sided with the English, or the British side, during this war. So that's that. And then the final sprue they sent me, it just says British Army 1.1. So it's interesting. They said that the British tended to carry 2 standards, whereas the Continentals only carried 1. But on this strip here, there's only 1 flag. Very interesting. I mean, you can put another one on here, but it'd be in a different rank. So that's intriguing. Interesting way of doing it. So these are British, but as I say, from what they're saying, the uniforms didn't change very much, so you could use them on either side. You've also got some more skirmish types here. Very nice models. And some officer types here. Anyway, there you go. As I say, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail with these because if you've seen them, if you're interested in this, you will have seen Warlord's own website, which showcases the sprues incredibly well, and you can just freeze and go in on them. But what I thought I'd look at was kind of how this range has evolved. So I don't have... he said, holding up pathetic bit of sprue. I don't really have any American Civil War. I got 1 sprue, which I think came on a magazine, but I didn't bother investing because I've already got quite a lot, 15. So, but these are the first range of epic figures. This is the American Civil War figures. Now they've been undercoated, so the details have been removed a little bit, but just comparing the two, there's certainly a lot more detail on these newer Revolution ones. Definitely a lot more. These are much more straightforward and simple. Also less variation in the figure, I would say. Then we move on to the very colourful Napoleonics. So these are obviously British infantry. Again, I didn't buy into these, but I've got a few sprues kicking around that people gave me and used at various times. Now the variation starts to creep in. You can see different poses, different positions. There's an officer in the front there, or as opposed to just flat lines of troops, which you got very much with the American Civil War. You've also got a fair amount more detail on these figures. Now, how do they compare? It's difficult to completely compare them. But these Revolution figures look much more defined. The Napoleonics are pretty good, but these look much more defined, I would say. Let's move on to Hail Caesar. So these are the Hail Caesar Punic War figures. Now it's difficult to tell because they've obviously got great shields in front of them, but these are pretty good as well. So let's have a look at the backs, because that's a fairer comparison. Again, I think these Revolutions are much more detailed. They've got a lot more defined straps on them, which will make it a lot easier to paint, and they'll take washes a lot easier, which means speed. And it means you can probably use speed paint much easier on these fellas, and I thought the Punics weren't so bad. And then let's have a look for completeness at some of the epic pike and shot. These are what are the Covenanters for that period, and again I would say the Covenanters aren't bad, but I think these Revolution figures are even better detail. They've certainly got more poses, which also is an advantage. I would say these are really well done. Now, other thing, one of the complaints I had of some of the earlier versions of Epic, particularly with the English Civil War stroke 30-year war, is the cavalry. I don't know whether these will show up terribly well, but they're very flat. They're sculpted side on, so the detail on the sides is actually pretty good. But when you look at them from the front, they don't have any detail, and they're pretty rubbish. There's not an awful lot more on the back, because that's where the seam goes in the mould, and yeah, it was really disappointing, I thought. Now, this Napoleonic one, it's better at the front, but not so good at the, still not particularly good at the back. But let's have a look at some of these cavalry figures on here. So again, they've got round it by, on the Revolution set, by turning the rider more towards you, so that they've got the flat there. But yeah, I think they've improved it. It's still not 100%, but it's never going to be, because, as I say, they're sculpted flat, so that is what it is. But yeah, so I think overall I'm quite impressed. The Epic Revolution continues, that is for sure. We've now got 5 versions of Epic across multiple periods, and I think therefore we can say it's been a huge success. Now, I did talk some time ago with a chap from Warlord. I won't say who it was, because we were having a few beers at the time, and I wouldn't want to get into trouble, but he said financially Epic has been a huge success, and clearly it has, because they've continued to invest in it. And I think you know, the old American Civil War was definitely a tester, and was more successful probably than they expected, and then they've moved on to all these other ranges, and it'd be interesting to see what comes next. I'm also very heartened by the quality of the sculpting, and also the fact they're giving you other head options on the sprues. Up till now you've had to buy separate ones. Now remember, if you don't like them all lined up, that's absolutely fine, not a problem. You can get other manufacturers. Steel Fist fits very well with the English Civil War. Callistra is another one that fits very well. Some of the smaller, older manufacturers of 15mm fit very well, so you could always, you know, sprinkle some of those in. And I've seen some Leon T66, for instance, did a brilliant job of showing how to cut some of these sprues without damaging the figures, and then use them in sort of smaller size units, which allows you to have a bit more, wibbly wobbly in the lines and doesn't make them look too uniform. Now, actually, I like the uniformity of this. I think I use the English Civil War one the most, and when they're laid out on the table, I think they actually look all like those images you see in contemporary art of 30-Year War or English Civil War battles, those blocks of infantry moving around, and I like it, absolutely like it. As I say, I haven't got so much experience with the American Civil War or the Napoleonics, but certainly the videos and the pictures I've seen of those games, they look fantastic. So there you go. That's my look at the Epic Revolution sprue and a little bit of the journey that they've gone on with Epic so far. So, excited? Not excited? Let me know in the description down below. Are you buying into Revolution? So, I don't think I'm going to, purely because I've got 28mm, and actually I think I prefer it as a period for more skirmish or small-scale narrative battles, not massed battles like a Napoleonic period or an English Civil War period. But, that's my choice. What do you want to see next? I mentioned before, I think, that I'm really excited about... I was expecting there to be a 100-Year War version of this next. And I wouldn't mind betting that the next one along will be something from the Hell Caesar stable, just because they've done... There's not much more they can do with pike and shot. I mean, they could do... some of the Eastern conflicts, the Ottomans, which would be fabulous, but I think they're much more niche in terms of their interest groups. So I think 100 Years War possibly, or some more Napoleonics. Maybe they'll delve into another period of Napoleonics. What do you want to see? Let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for watching. Thanks very much indeed for subscribing. For those that do, still over about half of people who watch these videos don't subscribe. Don't cost you anything, just click that button. Please, pretty please. Stay safe, stay well, and I will see you all again soon. This is Dom, signing out.